Hello my lovelies, welcome to my little cottage by the sea, the place where I love to stitch and craft my way to a vintage inspired and sustainable lifestyle. In today's video I'm sharing my sewing plans for spring and beyond. I've been so inspired by my sewing of late. I really feel like I've got into a really good groove and I've got some fabulous sewing plans for spring that I'm excited about. And these aren't necessarily just for spring, they're forever really. Wardrobe treasures to add to my handmade and thrifted wardrobe. I've divided my sewing plans into 4 chapters, if you will. And the first one that I want to start off with is Project Patchwork. Way back when I came up with the idea of Project Patchwork, not an original idea because patchwork is a wonderful craft that has been enjoyed and used to create beautiful and very useful things for people's homes for a millennia. Maybe not quite a millennia, but you know what I mean. And I have so many beautiful Liberty fabrics and UFOs or clothes that I'm no longer wearing, and part of being a sustainable dressmaker is to really try and get that circular economy going. I wanted to use up all of these treasured scraps of fabrics and bits and pieces of vintage fabrics left over. And it took me quite a while to get going, but recently I've been sorting through all my fabrics and sorting through my wardrobe, doing a wardrobe audit, because that's very much part of the whole process. Is intentional sewing is actually filling the gaps and really thinking about the things that you want in your wardrobe and what your life is at this moment and what you want to adorn your body with. So Project Patchwork is very much underway, and I've got a few things that I really want to make for some patchworked Frankenstein clothes. I should just say we've got storms coming in here in Hastings, so the lighting's rather erratic and I hope that's not going to be too distracting for you. We've also got a ghost just over here who is fascinated by the tripod and the camera, so it could all be very disastrous but hopefully entertaining and useful for you. See, the sun is now shining in. Anyway, I digress. So I have my circle skirt sewing pattern here, or it's really like a how to pattern cut and then sew a circle skirt. And I've also included things like a little inspiration board and a Myrtle May doodle. This is the little character that I doodle and put clothes on, a paper doll if you will. And I had this idea of doing these like hexagons, which I was doing a very long time ago, and making that into a circle skirt. But actually I've sort of come up with a slightly different version of that now, an idea for that. So I'm going to be using this. Obviously there are lots of other circle skirt patterns and resources online, so do use, if you want to make something similar, the whatever you already have to hand, or this is available if you would like to get a copy of this little zine. It's also available as a PDF download. And I'm going to be doing the tutorial as a journal piece over on my website. So as well as doing a lot of spring cleaning of my wardrobe and a wardrobe audit, I'm also spring cleaning and starting to decorate my little cottage by the sea. And if you'd like to see some stuff about that, then do let me know. I'm also spring cleaning my website and really kind of creating a real hub of all the stuff that I do here in my little cottage by the sea. So it's well worth signing up to the newsletter and just having a little look. It goes live tomorrow, 1st of April, and I have a whole tutorial section on there. I will have a whole tutorial section on there. So I'm going to be sharing this project as a tutorial, a journal piece, which you can follow along with if you want to make something similar. The second project patchwork thing that I want to make for my spring and beyond wardrobe is another Gwendolyn skirt. This was a pattern cutting tutorial that I did over at Tara Stitch Coven on Patreon. It was the project for March, and it's a really useful vintage inspired skirt, but very versatile, would suit a very wide range of different styles and different wardrobe types. And I've made one in a black needle quilt, but I'm going to do some kind of patchwork version, and I'm very tempted to look at all of my leftover silks from my bridal sewing and designing days and doing something a little bit in the sort of lines of Dior, and then maybe using up my bigger patches of Liberty fabrics to create another Gwendolyn skirt. So maybe there's 2 of those happening at some point fairly soon. My third project patchwork piece for my spring wardrobe, I really do have an awful lot of fabric to use up, is a patchworked Greta blouse or dress. I'm undecided at the moment. This is another pattern cutting and sewing guide, and it's sort of as zero waste as possible. Not quite zero waste, you do get a couple of offcuts, but basically you can just work out the measurements that you need and then grid this out on your fabric and cut it out. So it's great for those sort of turning tablecloths or sheets into dresses. And I really would love to make a patchwork version. The Greta's quite an elegant version of this sort of oversized bohemian gypsy type dress, although I know a lot of people do take issue with calling something gypsy or peasant, and I totally understand, but this is the sort of style, and I think it would look fabulous as a patchworked version. So I'm going to be doing that as well, and maybe that will be a video or a journal piece, I'm not entirely sure. The next few things that I want to make to add to my handmade thrifted wardrobe for spring and beyond are some accessories. Accessories are a really good way of bringing in something a bit new. They're often quite palette cleansing sews, and they are the thing that you can kind of do what is trendy. They're a way of experimenting with colour that maybe you wouldn't wear head to toe, but they're also a great way of stash busting and giving as gifts actually, or making some fancy things if you've got some special occasions, some weddings or things to go to in the summer season, wedding season. So I found a few accessories that I would like to make, and the first one is my own best collar. I've made quite a few of these, and I just think that this is great. I know collars have been around for a long time, and some would say maybe they're not very fashionable anymore, but I'm not really about what is fashionable. I'm about doing what I feel is right for my style. And this collar's great for those vampire's wife style dresses. That's sort of how I use them, and I like to make them in the same fabric as the dress, so that then I can change up the look of the dress. And also it's great to make little bags and accessories out of the same fabric, so you've got this kind of 3-piece set that you can wear together or mix it and match. So I want to make another best collar. I'm wondering whether I do some kind of patchwork. I'd love to do some kind of lace, and I've been looking in Pinterest land and have found some really lovely 30s versions, and that's what I really love about the vintage clothes, is that they made cuffs and collars and decorative things that you may only have a couple of dresses, but you could really change up the look of your clothes by putting on a collar of some kind. And then if you make it reversible, which I've done in the past, you get 2 for the price of 1, a twofer if you will. So really love this little pattern, and I'll be doing, I think, some lace ones is more preferential to patchwork. I could end up going a little bit obsessive and over the top with the patchwork, but I'm thinking sort of some lace, using my leftover bridal lace to create some really pretty collars. I also want to add in some handmade bags. I've really been loving these bags by a designer called Roberts Woods, and she's got some other lovely patterns as well. I really love these like flower bags. And then the designer Samantha Pleat also does this really lovely rosebud bag. So I'm not sure whether I would buy the pattern to make the Roberts Wood one, or whether I'd make some kind of version of my own based off of that Samantha pleat bag. I haven't really finalised my ideas with that. I'm not entirely sure, but I just think a fab little bag that you can wear with spring summer dresses is really lovely, big enough to hold all your essentials. The other bag I like, and I've got these vintage fabrics, this really pretty brocade and then this really lovely little floral. There aren't huge amounts of these, so this is the bottom obviously of a curtain, look, and somebody's done a little bit of mending on this one. And I just would love to create a bag of some kind that I could wear with my vintage inspired dresses that I've been making. This one's really pretty, and maybe enough for a matching beret as well. I'm not entirely sure, which brings me on to that. I'd like to make some more Marlena berets and do a little bit, maybe use some patchwork to sort of create some quite interesting versions of the beret. But the one that I really want to make, which may be less suitable for spring, is one out of this faux fur leopard with a little faux pom-pom on it. It's still cold enough here in Blighty, in Hastings, in my little cottage by the sea, to warrant a slightly warmer version of a Marlena beret, and then I can always wear it again in the autumn. Although I feel that I'm in quite a colourful stage of my sewing adventures, there is always going to be some black garments because that is what I tend to wear as a base. I've been really inspired by photos of teddy girls from the 40s and 50s hanging around in London, and I really want to make another Vampire's Wife style dress, but out of this black wool, which I think I have shown you. And I got this so that I could make some Lucille trousers, but I've actually decided to not make the trousers because this fabric needs to be dry cleaned or cleaned in a very specific way, and I just feel like trousers are not something that I'm gonna get so much wear out of in this particular fabric. So as I was sorting through all my things, I found this really beautiful Edwardian early noughties, but like 1900s noughties rather than 2000 noughties, and I thought how fab this would be. So I want to do a Vampire's Wife dress with puff sleeves, short sleeves, and with this sort of applique on the bodice, and I might add in some other laces, make it quite roughly puffly, a collar, high collar, and a ruffle round the bottom. And this would look really pretty with maybe sort of a little pretty bag or something. So I'm trying to think in terms of outfits and what I really love wearing, what I'm enjoying wearing. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, because I don't want to make the black trousers out of this fabric, I've just used this is just an offcut of this black, very fine soft needle cord. And I would like to make the Lucille trousers out of this. I got this at Jacob's Haberdashery and they've still got quite a lot of it left. Got some other lovely colours as well. And then I had this quite bonkers idea, and I don't know if you can tell me whether I have really lost my marbles or whether this is a really good idea. So when I was doing my dreaming, shopping, travelling in Pinterest land, I kept seeing these aprons and things with these sort of frilly bits here. And I thought about maybe making some kind of detachable bib with this sort of frill, and then you could put buttons on the inside of the waistband. So I could do that on my Gwendolyn skirt and the Lucille trousers. And then I could wear the bib and have sort of a pinafore dress with the Gwendolyn skirt. Dungarees, quite pretty with this frill on the shoulders there. And then I could have the Lucille trousers. So I've actually got a kind of an adaptable wardrobe. So you would just button on this bib onto either the Lucille trousers or the Gwendolyn skirt and get all sorts of different looks. So I don't know if that's a crazy idea, but let me know in the comments what you think. I think it's worth experimenting with. It's not something that I ever would have thought that I would want to wear, but then I really like the idea of it. It's really sort of sparked something, and I think sometimes that is an idea that you have to pursue. The last thing in this particular section, and I know that this is not black, but bear with me. So I want to make another DIY vampire style dress out of this crocheted and cotton tablecloth that my lovely hula Hannah gave me ages ago. It's got some really pretty details on it, so I'd have to be very careful how I cut this out. And it's a bit of a strange, like, it's an ecru colour, so I'm not entirely sure if I really like this colour. I mean, it looks quite creamy. It's like a sort of a pinky beige in a way, so it's not pink, it's still sort of quite beigey, so I don't know whether it would be worth trying to dye it or do something with it. But I'm going to use this just to make a fit and flare dress, the Vampire's Wife style dress, again with some puffy sleeves, and to try and use all the detailing on it as far as I possibly can. So I'm getting in a kerfuffle here. So you've got bits like this, so I could cut this out and have a lovely time sort of jigsawing, frankenhacking this into a really beautiful Edwardiana, Victoriana style dress that will be lovely to wear when the weather improves. The final things that I want to sew for spring and beyond are outerwear. As I was doing my wardrobe audit, which is a really useful exercise, I have done a video on this, and I have shown you my dressmaker's journal, which has got all the how I go about doing this. I realised that I'm very lacking in outerwear. I really need something for those cooler days when the weather is on the turn, but it's not quite summer and you need a bit of a cover up. So I've got sort of 3 ideas here that I am thinking about, and none of these may happen, or all of them may happen, or just one of them may happen. But I really love these 1940s quilted jackets, and you did get evening versions. So I've got this vintage 30s fabric, which would have been used for something like a bed jacket. And I really love the idea of doing a very lightweight quilted, fitted little jacket with puff sleeves. And then I also love the idea of doing some kind of patchwork version of that jacket as well. Maybe not quite the sort of really boxy patchwork things that have been made, upcycled out of quilts that I'm seeing everywhere on Pinterest and Instagram. I want something a little bit more vintage looking, a little bit more sophisticated, I think. And I really love the idea of that. So I'm going to cut a pattern myself for that and quilt the fabric and make it just very lightweight. I might not back this with the sort of traditional quilting backing. I might just do it with some calico, so it's really very suitable for summery days, but the poofle is really important. And then my other idea is to make another version of this, which is the June bug jacket. So this is a 40s 50s inspired swing jacket that I have as a PDF pattern for my top 2-tier patrons over on my Patreon, Tara Stitch Coven. And this jacket is full of really lovely details, like it's got a shaped notch collar, so it looks really beautiful, and it's got lots of false quilting on this, and then it's got this sort of big wide sleeve, and then I've lined the sleeve with a very old fabric actually, and again the faux quilting and this lovely shaped cuff, and then that is also echoed on the getting into a kerfuffle, it's also on the pockets. You've got these like shaped pockets here, and I made this in a really lovely lilac, just like it's a chambray, I think, a heavier weight chambray, but it's not the best fabric actually. It tends to really react with what you're wearing underneath. So I'd really like to get some very sort of sleek, smooth, heavyweight twill or a canvas, you know, the fabrics that are traditionally used for French workwear, and I'm going to have a look at Merchant and Mills and see if they've got something in maybe a sort of a cream that I could then wear with all of these things that I'm making, or a black and then do a very contrast stitching detail, because I love this jacket and I always put it on, but because it just sort of doesn't hang right because of the toothiness of the fabric, I don't really tend to wear it terribly much. It's great for a really warm summer evening when the sort of wind sort of comes in. You're sitting in a beer garden here in the old town of Hastings, so it's perfect for that. But just something that I can wear more as a day-to-day spring jacket is really what I'm after. So I'm going to have a look at Merchant and Mills. They're only up the road in Rye, so I can jump on a bus and meander through the very pretty countryside between here and there, and then go and have a look and see what they've got. So very much looking forward to filling those gaps in my wardrobe where I'm really lacking key items that would be wardrobe heroes. I'm so excited about my sewing plans for spring and beyond. It really feels like I've found an incredible treasure chest of fabrics from the past 100 years, and I've got this wonderful opportunity to sort of frankenhack and add them all together and create something new and beautiful that really is representative of me and my personal style. And isn't that the wonderful thing about sewing? And then if you can pattern cut some things as well, it really takes you even further on that sewing adventure. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to spend the time with me here in my little cottage by the sea. And if you've enjoyed this and want to see more, then you're more than welcome to head over to Tara Stitch Coven on Patreon, and that's where I teach you how to pattern cut and sew wardrobe treasures for your own unique handmade wardrobe. Or you can join me for some news from my cottage by the sea by subscribing to my newsletter. It's free. You just head to my website, scroll to the bottom of the page, put your email in, and I only send 1 or 2 a month. I really don't want to overwhelm you. I just want to share the things that I'm really passionate about. And of course there's my journal, and my website's getting a whole spring clean launching tomorrow, which I'm really excited about, and you can see some of my sewing projects there. It's really lovely to spend time with you here just on YouTube if that's where you're wanting to hang out with me. It's really lovely to share my sewing adventures with you, and I hope that wherever you are in the world this Easter you're keeping very safe and well, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.